1x20. Dr. Michael Yestis wrote this book, I guess, about 1 year ago. I've been using it ever since for early off-season, injured athletes, and youth athletes. I don't really work with youth athletes, but you could use it with them. Anyways, I got a question from Nathan Welty, who's a strength grad assistant. Could you use 1x20 as deload, as a deload? Not good grammar. Anyways, let's get into it. So to start off a 1x20 workout, I usually do something for the heart rate, like a jump rope or a jog or something. This video is going to cover every exercise that I recommend you use. You could change them up with time. I have a PDF actually, I'll link in the description for the program I put together, but the exercises don't really matter. It's the joints that you're covering. Back to the question Nate had. You can use this as a deload. There's some Sundays that I actually come in and do this if I'm not really feeling like working out, or if I just want to do something to cover every joint action that you'll typically have in a sport, or I guess for me, just doing the lifting and the bodybuilding and the jumping. So if you do it as a deload, you kind of want to keep the RPE, or the rating of perceived exertion, like at the end of the set, you want to keep it to like a 5 to 6 out of 10 intensity level. So if you just did 20 reps of a movement in your head, you're probably like, I could have probably done 30 reps of that. So I recommend you do the lower RPE just so that you don't really get that sore, and so you don't accumulate like a ton of volume. Because the point of a deload, or depending on where you're at with your training, but the point of the deload is to either decrease volume or decrease the intensity. And when you're doing like the 30 or so exercises of the 1x20, that can get to a pretty high volume if you're using a fairly decent weight. So you just do a pretty low weight, and the intensity is already going to be fairly low, because intensity, just in terms of like the resistance used or the load lifted, you're doing 20 reps, so you can't really use that heavy of a weight. So if you keep it like that and you just kind of run through the whole session pretty fast, the heart rate will go up, you'll push blood around, you'll cover all of these movements that the next day, or even the next few days, you'll probably feel a lot better if you just got done with heavy training or a long season or something. It can work fairly well for a deload. Another time you could use 1x20 for a deload type workout would be in season. I worked with a pro basketball guy out in Spain. We've been going back and forth with his training, and he's actually been using 1x20 in season. And if you look at basketball athletes, or athletes in a similar sport to basketball, where you'd have a lot of travel, or you're on your legs all the time, probably the last thing you want to do is go in the weight room and lift with a super high intensity and with a super high volume, because it's going to beat you up and you're not going to be able to perform for the next few days, or it's going to trash you for a while. So the 1x20 is pretty useful in that you can come in the weight room and cover a bunch of different movements, but you're not doing that much volume and you're not using that much intensity. And not only is it going to like preserve your strength level, but it's going to kind of stretch you out too, because you're using a full range of motion in all of these movements. So in that example, you don't have to come in and do all 30 exercises of the movement, as this basketball, his name's Mike, as he does. He goes in and he'll use maybe, I don't know what he uses, 5 exercises, 10 exercises. And you can just kind of vary them up through the day. Like, hey, today I want to hit a squat movement or a hip hinge movement, or something for my biceps or my triceps. There's me flexing a little bit before I'll get into the leg raise, which was actually pretty tough for me. But anyways, you can come in and you can do just a few movements to cover certain joint actions that you feel like you need to cover. Like if your knees are feeling super tight and you know the front of your hips are tight, you can do like a dumbbell reverse lunge or something. Or if you're feeling like your upper body needs some work, you can do some, push-ups or dumbbell curl, tricep push down, something. You can come in season, so you could train like pretty much every single day by just picking a few exercises and doing them, because especially once you get to like the end of the season with playoff time or something, you really have to make sure that you are not that training is not messing you up at all. So here's me trying to do the banded leg curl, and this band is super tight. I usually use a black one, but today I was like, I'm gonna take it super easy, kind of for the video to show the deload. But this didn't work at all, so I have to actually tie it and then get it around the feet like that. So yeah, if you watched these movements, these are covering like everything you could really think of in terms of what muscle we need to work and what joint action we need to work. This one here is, yes, this uses this more specifically for like rotational based athletes, like baseball players and golfers. And so yeah, up till now I covered that you can use it as a deload day, and you can use it in season for a sport that is like very fatiguing, and instead of avoiding the weight room entirely because of the fear of soreness and whatever, you can still come in routinely and do these movements to hit those joint actions. But I guess to go deeper into Nate's question, could you use 1x20 as a deload for like if you're doing an entire deload week? And I think you could actually. That would probably be the first day. I would try to keep that pretty, again, 5 to 6 out of 10 intensity. And this is something where you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Wednesday you could probably start pushing the intensity a little bit, and then Friday you could probably push the intensity a little bit more. I think that would be pretty good for recovery of like all of your joints. But it's also gonna recover the nervous system because you're not really doing anything that forceful or that explosive. I think also mentally it's going to help you recover, because this is unlike other demanding types of training. You simply do one set of 20, and there's a little bit of fatigue at the end, but you don't have to strain under super heavy loads, and it just kind of breaks up the monotony of typical training that if you were to do this for a whole week, that's pretty cool. You could also use this example, come in on Sunday like I do here. You come in on Sunday, you don't really feel like training, you train whatever 5-6 days that week. Just come in and do the 1x20, and for me it's actually pretty fun, and I feel pretty decent afterwards. So there's my insight in using the 1x20 system. You can use it for a deload day, a week, use it in season, and for normal training, if you want to come in another day and do some work for everything, you can come in and do that. All right, that's the video. See ya.